You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the cornball. What's up? My name is Logan, and I love talking about music, and what a better way to kick off a YouTube channel than talking about JPEGMAFIA. So JPEGMAFIA released his new album a couple weeks ago, and having sat with it, I'm disappointed. And I'll preface this review by saying that none of the music on this album, experimental rap, is bad, but that said, it's almost embarrassing when contextualized. See, JPEGMAFIA has always been an artist who speaks his mind, and while I appreciate authenticity, it's like meeting Kanye pushed him to an extreme level of dorky, try-hard edginess that's so frustrating having been a fan of all of his other work. It's like he can't even show up for an interview or a music video or anything nowadays without an entire entourage of masked men or women hardly wearing any clothes. He just says the most outlandish stuff. I mean, for whatever reason, he thought it would be a good idea to get on Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist for not being experimental enough. He even threw some jabs at Lucky. And I will say I actually understand this for The Alchemist, but Earl, I mean, I didn't love his album with Mike this year, but it's almost impossible to deny Earl Sweatshirt respect of all people. And then Peggy does an interview with Pigeons and Planes where he talks about this new album as a way for him to claim the subgenre of experimental rap. And he talks about it like he's the only one having success in the space. But artists like Danny Brown, Death Grips, Vince Staples, and Gais Guevara have been consistently making quality experimental music in the last decade, much of which is better than JPEGMAFIA's best work, and most of which is better than his most recent album. I would even argue that artists in the underground like Slayer and Lucy Bedroque are more experimental than Peggy. Some days, I'm inclined to say the same for Osama-san and Che, while to a lesser extent. So let's actually talk about experimental rap. JPEGMAFIA said that his goal for this album was to improve upon his last album, I Lay Down My Life For You. I think that goal is evident in the music because the two albums are similar sonically, but I don't think he accomplished his goal at all. First of all, his last album was way more experimental than this one. On I Lay Down My Life For You, he experimented with different collaborators and styles, sometimes even on the same song. But on experimental rap, nothing really feels groundbreaking. There are basic samples of A Little Bit of Love by Brenda Russell and All of the Lights by Kanye that, while fun, aren't any more experimental than a YouTube type beat, especially when they're coupled with the same fast flow that JPEGMAFIA carries throughout the entire album. There are aspects of this album that I enjoy, though. I like the lead single Baby Girl quite a bit, especially the breakdown toward the end of the track. The samples on Pop This Heat and Lights are still fun, and I can enjoy the tracks regardless of how surface level they are given Peggy's goals. The beginning of GYBB is hilarious, and the same is true of the First Amendment. War Over Land is a very well-produced track, and I think it would have fit great on I Lay Down My Life For You. But my point is that there's a lot to like here. And while my perception of the album is tainted by JPEGMAFIA being an idiot on the internet, I still enjoy his production style and voice, even his rapping despite the repetitiveness of his flow at points. Experimental rap by JPEGMAFIA is good, even great at some points, but is ultimately disappointing given the standards set by his past work and his stupid persona that he's set online. If you enjoyed this discussion of JPEGMAFIA's new album Experimental Rap, please support the video and channel by liking the video, subscribing, and commenting suggestions for future discussions. And finally, I leave you with a quote from the great Barrington Devon Hendricks. "You will always lose money chasing women, but you will never lose women chasing money."